There we go. Okay. All right. It is 5:30 a.m. according to my tablette. So go ahead and let's get this party started. Several things. This is a live that is informationally based, so gather some note-taking materials, and you can use physical or virtual. Doesn't matter to me. Whatever you need to make sure you learn, go ahead and do that. Second, you will need a second device to look at the website, theturnarounddoctor.com. You go to the 74 Principles of Real Leadership page. We are finishing up leader led. So we're doing talk to people, not at them. Additionally, we might get to a video depending on how fast or conversational we are this morning. Without further ado, on your own, go ahead and inhale and exhale 3 times. Okay. I am Dr. Donna Louise Thomas-Rodgers, daughter of Leslie Darnell Thomas, granddaughter of Arthur Jethro Evelyn II, and great-granddaughter of Levi Thomas. Welcome to your morning mental workout. Today's topic is talk to people, not at them. How did we get here? Neurogenesis, the creation of new neurons. Those neurons decided that they were going to make new neural pathways. And from there, you add that to the 74 Principles of Real Leadership and the theory of personal accountability, and you find yourself at Neuropability. And that's the brain's ability to wire itself to use the 74 Principles of Real Leadership to enhance and advance your life and have unlimited neural pathways for you to hold yourself personally accountable, with the primary objective of you becoming your best and having your best day in and day out. And how does this happen? We use the frontal lobe, and inside of the frontal lobe is where the executive function resides, and that is also commonly referred to as the CEO of the brain. So without further ado, let's use your executive function today to create some neuropability. Good morning, Lola. And if you haven't done so already, there is a poll question today made readily available for you. And let me quickly remind myself to review the poll results, because we haven't had a poll question in a minute. And I will get off the live and remember that, and then remember. So we are prepared for that, and then we will get into the definition. Okay. I have reviewed the 74 Principles of Real Leadership and just given an overview. If you want to see any of that information, feel free to go to the 74 Principles of Real Leaders, 74 Principles Live, and it will have all of those lives there. It's a playlist on the YouTube channel. And now I'm going through each principle of real leadership and going so far to the level of detail that I'm defining every word so that you can have a total and complete understanding of each principle of real leadership. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get into that. The first word in talk to people, not at them, is talk. And this is the definition of talk. Speak in order to give information or express ideas or feelings, converse or communicate by spoken words. I will say that again. Speak in order to give information or express ideas or feelings, converse or, communicate by spoken words. The next one is number 2, and it is the word to. Expressing motion in the direction of. Expressing emotion in the direction of. Number 3 is people. That's a human being or human beings. A human being or human beings. Number 4, not. To indicate negation, meaning the opposite of something. To indicate negation, meaning the opposite of something. At is number 5, and it is direct or target. She shouted at them. And then number 6 is them. And it refers to what was previously mentioned. So in this instance, the them is the people. So what you want to do is speak in an order where you are giving information to express ideas, feelings, or communicate in a direction of a human being, and not doing it in a negative way that is directed or targeted in a mean-spirited way. So it refers to talking to people and not at people. Let me review what someone said. Okay. Yeah. Give me a minute, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna take a side break for a second. Yeah, I hid the message. Dang it. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna move on because someone put a comment there that I was going to address to prove a point, but I hit the hide button instead of the view button. So we are going to move on this morning. Okay, what questions do you have about the definitions of talk to people, not at them? All right, I will continue to move forward. What does it mean to talk at a person? Let me explain that to you. What it means is to talk at a person means to speak to someone in a way that is one-sided. It's forceful or dismissive without genuinely engaging them in a conversation or listening to their responses. So when you are talking at a person, it's a one-sided interaction. It's not a conversation. It's one-sided. It's forceful or dismissive without genuinely engaging them in conversation or listening to their responses. And that just means the person is taking over, hijacking everything, and they just want to keep talking, and they're not engaging in a conversation. And sometimes that might be necessary. As a parent, if a child does something, you're like, what in the world is taking place? This is not a conversation. This is a one-way situation right here, and you're going to get your ass handed to you. But if you are, in theory, engaging with another person, you do not want to be dismissive, make it forceful, or make it one-sided, and you want to listen and you want to actually understand. So it often implies that the speaker dominates the conversation. So the person is hijacking the conversation, talking, and the listener is not given a chance to participate. So there is no pause for the other person to engage. It's just yammer the entire time. And then the tone may feel aggressive, patronizing, or lecturing when it's an actual conversation. Now, one could say, I'm lecturing right now, and that is not the instance where I'm talking at you, because I'm actually providing you information on one of the 74 principles of real leadership. But it could be aggressive. And then, so what I was saying was, and then up, and man, and now you're like, oh, whoa. Whoa. I said, get over here. I'm talking to you. And now you're like, no, I don't. I'm good. I think I'm going to stay over here. And then the speaker doesn't care about feedback. So if that happens and you say, hey, that tone is a little bit loud for me. It's a little bit too much. You mind if you want me to come over, and actually I feel like I need to defend myself right now, so I don't want to come over there and talk to you. I don't care what you say. That makes it so that the person isn't open to feedback. So what does talking to someone look like? It implies normal or respectful communication. Just normal. Just if it was a temperature, it is like a 78-degree day with a light breeze and some sun shining, not a lot of humidity. It's just a normal, wow, today's a nice day. Look at that. It just feels respectful in an environment where you can actually have a conversation with someone. And it can be two-way. So you're having this conversation with someone, you're talking to them, and you're expecting a response from them. That's when you're talking to someone. And usually you show interest in the listener's perspective. So you say something, the listener says something, you go, oh, wow, really? I didn't know that. I was aware of that. Tell me more. So it feels different. It feels balanced. It feels neutral or engaging and inviting when you're talking to someone. So examples of talking at, so first of all, what questions do you have about when a person is talking at someone and what that implies? Is that clear, or would you like for me to clarify before I move on? And this way today. There we go. Is the chat not working? Can someone type something so I can see if it's actually working this morning for me? If you just type ... Okay, it's clear. Got it. Thank you for typing that, Noah, just to make sure that I'm this early in. If I have to switch over, that's going to impact my links that I put everywhere else. Okay, so examples of talking at someone. He talked to me for about an hour about his job without asking me anything. That's someone just talking at you. And they're just going on and on and on and on and just talking. And really just, you're just there just as a figurehead while this person does that. Another example is she wasn't having a discussion. She was just talking at me like my opinion didn't matter. You did say voice volume plays a part in talking at someone. I did say that. So the tonality, and Nola resembles that remark. So yesterday we were conversing and she was like this the whole time she was talking. And I kept saying, turn the volume down. Turn the volume down. Turn the volume down. Can you turn the volume down on that? Because it makes you feel like, woo, like you need to brace yourself for something. So it's forceful. It's this, when it's not necessary. So if you think you're just sitting, imagine if you were sitting at the park and you're having a conversation and the person has their coffee and they're like, yeah, so then I said, and then you want, and what the fuck? Now, that, and y'all came to just have a normal conversation. So the tone actually does matter. Okay, so an example of talking at someone. He talked about his job for an hour. Or she just wouldn't let me enter the conversation. So when you're talking at someone, just think if you talked at the wall, you're not really expecting the wall to respond if you're sober and sane, you don't expect the wall to respond. And that's what's happening when you're talking at someone. People think they're having conversations and that they're actually effectively communicating, but they're not, because it doesn't have the ingredients for talking to someone, which we will get into. So here's an example of talking to someone. I talked to her about my plans for today, then asked her about her plans. So now I'm saying today we have a full day. We have an Airbnb that we need to furnish, and then we have a TV to mount. So we're basically going to be gone the entire day. Kevin, what are your plans for today? And Kevin tells me we got some construction projects. I'm going to stop by the Boba Tea, have lunch with my wife, maybe take a nap, then go back and close out the day and turn in my assignments to Dr. Donna. I said, oh, okay, well, cool. Well, do you have any new flavors at Boba Tea? How's the ice cream going? You tell me the ice cream is killing it. I didn't know I could make this much money selling ice cream. I like the ice cream now. At first, it was trying to take me out. So then we start having this exchange back and forth. And then Kevin can say, well, what are y'all building? And then I can say, well, we got some beds and some nightstands, a TV stand, a plant. And we got to go back on Sunday and finish it out. I'm going to be tired as all get out. So no, I'm not cooking dinner today. And now we've had this exchange where he knows what I'm doing today. I know what he's doing. He's telling me about how the boba is going. I'm telling him about hard working and hard driving my daughter is, and how I'm old as hell. I'm still doing this physical work. No, not doing that. I'm just messing with you, Noah. That's talking to someone. So we actually had this exchange. And now Kevin is sitting there saying, Dr. Donna, how you know what my day is going to look like today? Because I listen. There you go. So that's talking to someone. So in short, talking to invites dialogue, while talking at feels like a monologue or lecture. And that is why the format for the lives, I ask questions at the end and throughout intermittently. And we have Wire Wednesday and Thinking Thursday for those, and Strengthen Saturday that nobody liked because we was doing what's it called. But anyway, sometimes the talking to people don't work. And I'll be sitting there looking at myself, waiting on somebody to engage with me. I'm like, but no, it's not a monologue right now. I'm not lecturing. I'm attempting to talk to you. And they're like, I'm not answering that question, Dr. Donna. So sometimes it works. In theory, everything works on paper. But in short, talking to invites dialogue, while talking at feels like a monologue or a lecture. So, what questions do you have about the difference between talking to and talking at? And yes, I'm going to give you some handy dandy tips in order for you to be able to do this. I can see. I can sure do without. And for your questions, remember ... so I know that the chat hasn't frozen and that you are thinking. You can do buffering, you can do a thinking emoji. Okay, so Kevin and Nola, what are your thoughts about talking to people versus talking at people? What I think is going to happen is that Kevin and Nola are going to start recruiting people on your own to be on the live. So you can be like, listen, we're not going to keep answering these questions. We got to meet up at Starbucks. We got to get at least 10 other people on the live. So that way we won't be sitting there like, she calling on us again. We're the only people that keep showing up to class every day. Lola, you're here, you're working. It's like, man, we need to be working. Kevin, do not say tomorrow that you are at one of your construction sites if you're not going be able to respond. Yep. I'm on the excavator today, Dr. Donna. For a whole hour? Nah. But I actually know what that is now. How do you feel when someone asks you questions only for your input, and then 10 minutes into the conversation, you realize they're not giving any input in the conversation? How do I feel? That's the story of my life. That actually is the story of my life. People, and Nola will probably attest to this, but people feel like, especially if they know me. Now, if I'm at one of her appointments, they might have a little bit of information to contribute. But Nola will say, you know everything. It's hard for me to tell you anything, or it's hard for me to do anything for you, or it's hard for me to give you anything because I'm pretty self-sufficient. But what happens is, what I know to be true now that I didn't even know this time last year because I didn't have brain t-shirts on last year, people's working memory is depleted. As you know, it starts to atrophy at 35, and by 65, it's gone. So when people can't contribute to what I'm saying or the conversation, what it shows me is a lack of information. And that's why there's a whole section for knowledgeable in my book, Real Leaders Wear Pink, because it is actually what can you contribute if you don't have that experience. So you don't have a well-rounded existence. And so the example that I will give is that Nola, we had a client, and his name was Tamir. And Nola said, oh, I went to school with a Tamir, and I also went to school with an Ishmael. And they were from Egypt too, because this person was from Egypt. And so this person is like, wow, you you went to school with somebody from Egypt? And she said, yes. And she told me how hot it was. It used to get up to like 150 degrees or something to that effect, 130 or something. And so they had this conversation, and that's not the appointment. We were there to put together some exercise equipment for the person, but she was able to have that exchange with that person. And when they can't contribute anymore, their ability to contribute is limited, whether it's lack of vocabulary, experience, knowledge, technical expertise, and unfortunately sometimes care. It shows you what a cubicalized zip code-itis existence that person may have. And that's the result of staying in your comfort zone. So for me, I understand and know exactly where that person is, regardless if we're sitting in their business, in their mansion, wherever we are, having a conversation in a parking lot with somebody and standing next. We just saw a phantom the other day with the windows rolled down. I almost did it for my subscription to say, see, I told y'all these things is like Teslas around here. We see them all the time. I was like, no, we got to go. Anyway, the whole point is that it shows you how much or how little somebody actually knows. Let me know if I have answered your question, Kevin. Nola, you said you can be on an excavator for an hour depending on what needs to be done. See, Kevin, Nola has your back. She's taking up for you. I am guilty of talking at people, working on it. Yes, ma'am, that is correct. So she's is taking up for her battle buddy to say that. And then Kevin, if you just let me know if I answered your question. And communicate effectively is also one of the 74 principles of real leadership, because people don't know how to do it. That's why it's so important. Grateful, 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 gratefulness is flowing in the heart. And I don't know, because as much as I sing and say lyrics, I don't know if I'm not supposed to do that. When it happened to me, I think to myself, they just made me give them a lecture. And why do you feel that way, Kevin? What's that attached to? Somebody done pissed the geese off. They're leaving the golf course. They must be bothering them by the lake. Got it, thanks. When it happens to me, I think to myself, they just made me give them a lecture. Now, if you're talking about when people used to ask me this all the time when I was working with the Urban Chamber, hey, Dr. Johnny, let's go have coffee or lunch so I can pick your brain. First of all, that's disgusting. Second of all, I'm like, oh, you want some information for free. And it used to make me angry. I understand that part. And then I realized, you know what? I'm doing all the talking and they're just listening. And so you feel like it's not an even exchange. So you're going to walk away and not have had any information at all. And I can completely understand that. And what I found in those moments as well is that you still get a lesson. If you, for the few crumbs that people have said, you can still extrapolate something from that. And it is quite telling. So in those instances, I will ask questions. And so they call this the process free information. So if they're not talking, and I'll say, oh my goodness, wow, that's an amazing tie that you have on. Where'd you get that tie from? And then they'll start talking about the tie. And then the conversation will go somewhere. Well, I got this tie in Europe and I was on my wedding anniversary and da 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 da. And that's called free information. So sometimes, yes, they might need the information, but again, they can't put the words together to be able to continue the conversation. So small talk, people don't have the ability to do that. I even have a video about that I made 11 years ago for people to just start having the conversation. So they can't articulate what it is that they want to say. Sometimes people, I know what I want to say, but I just can't find the words to say it. And again, the atrophied brain with the lack of neural pathways, because most people have one or three things that they actually know a lot about, and then they know nothing about anything else. They can't contribute because neurologically they don't have the ability to contribute. So they can take information in. And remember, we live in a consumption society. So people have no problem sitting, listening. They don't have a self-reflective perspective. So they don't have the ability to respond and say, how is what you're saying applies to me? Because that thought process, that neural pathway isn't there. Neurologically, it isn't. You go to school, you listen, you take a test, you go get a job, the job tells you what to do, you get married, the spouse tells you what to do, the school system tells you what to do. So at no point are you even actively thinking to engage in that way. Okay? But I get and understand what you're saying. You left and you did all this talking and you were supposed to be getting some information. And for me, that happened a lot when I was meeting with higher level people. People say, oh, you need to go meet with Amy because she did it. And then I'm sitting there and now they're telling me their business is in shambles and now I'm giving them all this other stuff to do. And I'm like, why are you misrepresenting yourself? You perpetrating a fraud. You over here got people think you doing good stuff and you ain't doing a damn thing. You got a shell of a business. You got like a concept of a business that's working. Or you one payment away from not being able to make payroll. Okay, cool, got it. Roger that. And that happens as well. Okay, so tips to avoid talking at people and promote respectful, engaging conversations. Tips to avoid talking at people and promote respectful, engaging conversations. Number one, and I just said this, ask questions. Ask questions. So use open-ended questions to invite the other person to share. And I learned open-ended questions and closed-ended questions when I was at Frito-Lay, and we were doing continuous improvement master training. So use open-ended questions to invite the other person to share. And that's what I said. So I asked you and Nola, did you have any questions? And you said no. So I switched it and asked you a question, and then I received free different information. And free information just means they gave it to you and they were just talking. So ask open-ended questions. Don't ask the closed-ended questions. Are you hungry? Yes. No. That's a closed-ended question. So open-ended question makes it so you can't say yes or no to the question. So if I say, where did you get your blue shirt from? You can't say no. I mean, you could, but that's not going to answer the question. And remember, once you start asking questions, then the brain wants to answer it. And then when you answer the question, there's the release of serotonin. So that's why the conversations become engaging, because I'm asking you a question, you're asking me a question, and we have this serotonin dopamine thing going on. And it's just this natural euphoric feeling without it being forced. So what did you think about that is an example of an open-ended question, or how did that make you feel? And I say that often, and you might not like it. You get an email. Oh, really? So how did that make you feel? Like, I feel like I want to not answer your question right now, Dr. Donna. But those are two things that actually happen when you're asking, or two potential questions that you can ask. So again, what do you think about that? And how did that make you feel? Number two is pause and listen. And again, I had to learn how to pause in conversations. And Leon Lato taught me that when I was in Toastmasters. They call it the pregnant pause. When someone says, I'm pregnant, you go, especially depending on how old you are. If you're on the younger end or if you're on the old end, you're like, so late 20s, early 30s, everybody's okay with it, even into your 40s now. But if you're 51, and I see that on TikTok a lot, a woman thinks she's going through menopause, and the doctor's like, oh, I better tell her she's pregnant. Like, what the? That's going to create a pause in the conversation. So number two, pause and listen. So give space for the other person to respond. Now, my amazing offspring will not do that. And in acting, they call it stepping on the person's line. So I'll still be talking and she's talking to what I'm saying that I haven't finished saying. So we're working on that. Part of it is so she doesn't forget. Part of it is because I can switch and do a tangent and go into another conversation. So she's attempting to interject before I switch conversations. So the process that we develop is she just raises her hand. And then from there, I'll go, okay, do you have a point? And then we'll do that. So we're working on the communications. But you pause and listen. You give space for the other person to respond. And then additionally, you show your listening by nodding and making eye contact and summarizing what they say. So in summary, you'll say all of that and you'll say, so if I understand what you're saying that you went to France and purchased this blue shirt and you wear it every Friday because you call it France Friday. And that's why you have the blue shirt and it's Friday. So that's why you're wearing the blue shirt. You go, yes, that's why I have the shirt and that's why I wear it on Fridays. Okay, number three, check for tone. And this is what you asked about earlier in the live, Kevin. Check for tone. So avoid sounding like you're lecturing or giving unsolicited advice. Avoid sounding like you're lecturing or giving unsolicited advice. So if I say, where'd you get the blue shirt from? And then you tell me, and then I start saying, well, what you doing going to France? And France, did you know that France is that? And I start telling you all about the wars and everything that France has contributed to and all of these other things. And you're going, I just went to France for my anniversary and bought a blue shirt and I call it France Friday. Why are we doing this? And then the next thing is use a conversational tone rather than authoritative or dismissive language. So part of what's happening too, Kevin, is because you feel like it's a lecture, you've turned it into a lecture. So now people know when you're lecturing, okay, I have to be quiet because Dr. Donna is giving us a lecture. So it's also submitting to the fact that you're giving a lecture when you thought it was a conversation. But if you get excited and now it turns into what appears to be a lecture, but you were just passionate about the thing that you were talking about. Or it's this dismissive language like, blue, no, vive la France, no, the French are weak. And so you just go, blue? You don't even look good in blue. Why would you have on a blue shirt? So then it becomes very dismissive or authoritative. Blue, you going to France and you buying shirts in this economy? What the hell is wrong with you? It's like, we planned for this trip, we saved for this trip, and this was the thing that we had always wanted to do on our 25th wedding anniversary. Kick rocks, Dr. Donna. Okay, so check your tone. Lola, you said I have that challenge. I start talking before the person finished talking. I be trying to let the person know I understand, and then they say they weren't finished. Yes, and that happens. And then Nola and I do that at appointments as well, because I'm trying to explain it, she's trying to explain it, and we'll be talking over each other. It becomes confusing. So yeah, it's really just like give it space. But with me being perimenopausal, her having ADHD, sometimes we forget. So we're trying to text ourselves and everything. So it's an interesting dynamic when it's all said and done. But it is talking at people. And when I wrote this many years ago, I was just talking about at work in that environment. And now with more research, thank you, ChatGPT and Grok, then now you have this expanded meaning. And I was thinking, yep, I meant that too as well. So you're not just thinking, you're thinking in professional environments, but you could just be having a conversation with a loved one and you're talking at them unintentionally and not really being full aware of the totality of what's taking place. So yes, it does. You have to let the person finish. And for Nola, I might go and keep talking, and in that nanosecond, she's hijacking the conversation, and I'm like, think of this in writing. It's just a comma. I just paused, and now I want to continue. Another thing that we have developed is because with ADHD and ADD, she'll just walk out of the room and think we're done. So now it's, are you finished with are we finished with this conversation? Because as I mentioned, you want to summarize it after listening. Yes. So in summary, here's what we discussed. And now that means that the conversation is over, whether you're on the phone, video chatting, or in person, Zoom calls, whatever it is, summarize it so everybody knows that that communicative interaction has been finalized. It's complete. Number 4, be mindful of body language. Facing the person, nodding, and keeping open posture shows you're engaged and not dominating. So if you're talking to me and I'm like, mm-hmm. This isn't open posture. This is not inviting and engaging. This is not. No one wants to talk to me right now. You're probably like, she about to go saber-tooth tiger on me. So no. So what you want to do is open. You want to nod and don't do like this, because now you're trying to hurry the person along. So that's not going to bode well for you either. So it's open. You're not standing there like, you finished? Because I'm about to go ham. That none of that is good. So it's open communication, laugh. Oh my goodness, that was a good one. Yeah, I appreciate that. Mm-hmm. Yep. Oh wow, really? You kidding me? Say what? Number 5, balance the conversation. Watch how much you're talking and compare it to the other person. And Kevin, as you just mentioned, you talking for 10 minutes, they're listening for 10 minutes. And then there's the pause. And then you keep on talking because they don't have anything to say. So has to be an even exchange. And if you're doing most of the talking, gently shift their perspective. As I mentioned, if you're doing most of the talking, Oh, that's a nice tie. Where'd you get that tie from? Oh yeah, they had a sale, or I'm a tie person and everybody gives me ties for my birthday and Christmas and all these other holidays. So those are the 5 reasons, or the tips to avoid talking at people. I'll go over them again. Ask questions is number 1. 2, pause and listen. 3, check for tone. 4, be mindful of body language. And 5, balance the conversation. So, what questions do you have about the tips to avoid talking at people and promote respectful, engaging conversations? We have votes for the poll question. And again, if you're thinking, emoji, thinking, type thinking, ... So I know that you are present and you have put on, to quote Miss Price, your thinking cap. Repeat the topic of these 5 and number 5 for me, please. So the topic is tips to avoid talking at people and promote respectful, engaging conversations. So tips to avoid talking at people and promote respectful, engaging conversations. I see that, Nola, you said you got kicked out. And then number 5 is balance the conversation. So watch how much you're talking compared to the other person or persons. Watch how much you're talking compared to the other person or persons. And then if you're doing most of the talking, gently shift to their perspective. If you're doing most of the talking, gently shift to their perspective. Nola, what point did you get kicked out? Do you recall the last thing that you heard? Oh. Pardon me. Just you asking if we had any questions. I didn't miss much. It was a couple of seconds. Okay, got it. And then Kevin, let me know if you have the information that you've requested. Oh. Got it. Okay. And then right now, I'm going to give you an example of talk at someone or talk to someone. The topic is always late. Talking at someone first. You are always late. You need to wake up earlier. I get up at 5 a.m. every day. You just need to go to bed on time. And say that again. You are always late. You need to wake up earlier. I get up at 5 a.m. every day. You just need to go to bed on time. Now, that was forceful. It was a lecture and a monologue, and it was aggressive, and it didn't take into account any of the things that I said. So talk to someone about being late. Hey, Nola, I noticed that you're having some challenges with being on time. What time do you go to sleep? See how I noticed? This is an observation. And you're having some challenges being on time. Not your ass is always late. There's some challenges in being on time. What time do you go to sleep? Nola's response, between 12 and 1 a.m. Okay, because we actually had this conversation. And then I say, oh, I see. Would you like a system to start going to sleep sooner? And then Nola's answer, yes, that would help me out a lot. Same issue, but one is going to have the person say, I'm going to keep showing up late. You don't care about me. You just going to make assumptions. You don't know what's happening. You don't know my life. You don't know what's happening for me. But what I've learned in Frito-Lay is seek first to understand and then be understood. And in order to seek first to understand, you have to ask questions, which is number one when you're talking to someone. Notice that you're having some challenges being on time. What time do you go to sleep? Opens it up. So that person's like, oh, yeah, what time do I go to sleep? Between 12 and 1. Okay, cool, got it. Would you like a system to start going to sleep sooner? Yes, that will help out a lot. Totally different interaction because you want the problem solved. The problem is you want the person to show up on time. But unless you understand the challenges that they face in going to sleep and getting up on time, and additionally, it might be get organized and stay organized, get your stuff ready at night, especially if you're a lark, you're used to being up late and up late and wake up late. So if you have to wake up early, you're going to have to make some changes, and that's going to take some time. And I have a video that says how do you wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning in 90 days or less. So it depends on, and you do it every 7 days. You wake up a half an hour sooner until you're at your desired wake up time. It's really how to wake up early, but for me, it was what I did to start waking up at 4 a.m. Okay, so what questions do you have about any of the talk to someone, talk at someone, the examples that I used, or any of the tips? Okay, let me reveal the results of the poll question in the poll. Okay, poll question is, do you know how to talk to people? 83% said no. Wow, that's the first time. And 16% say yes. So for those of you who are still here, please explain your answer. That's the first time that the no received more than the yes. The delay is terrible today. I see. Was that so? What's your answer to the poll? Which answer did you have for the poll question? I said no because I am still working on being able to communicate better. I'm not there yet. That is correct. and I still have improvements for myself. I'm still at an A. It's just a matter of allowing people, not talking over, especially it's been more so with you and I, Nola, that and again, because you're working on it, it means that it will be beneficial to both of us when it's all said and done. Kevin, I said yes because that's something that I actually worked on before going into leadership roles. Okay, cool. Got it. All right, we are going to go to the website. We're going to look at one graphography, then I'm going to ask the two questions, and then we're going to go ahead and get on out of here. So go to the YouTube channel. Give me a thumbs up when you're there. Okay. So you're going to YouTube, and we're going to be right there in the graphography playlist. And while I'm there, let me put this in the playlist. Mr. West is in the building. Okay. And just waiting on Nola. Ayo. We saw someone the other day that looked just like Omar from The Wire. So you're gonna scroll down, use that drop down arrow on the graphography playlist, and it is watch this until the end. Watch this until the end. It's a white background with black font. Watch this until the end. It's in the graphography playlist. So you have to hit that drop down arrow because it's only going to show 4 videos. And then let me know your thoughts after you watch it until the end. Well played. It's itching. More than I want to. You said that was different? This came about because if you spend any time on TikTok or anywhere, they're always saying, watch to the end, watch to the end. They put it in the graphics at the top, they put it in the description at the bottom, watch to the end, watch to the end. And the reason why they do that is because you don't get credit. You got catfished. You don't get credit for the video unless people have a certain amount of watch time, a drop off time. So people have, without saying, I'm not going to get my bread if y'all don't watch this whole video, they did the whole watch till the end. And that was me going back at them saying watch until the end. And then the next thing is the end on purpose. Because now everybody's brain is programmed to watch till the end. We'll make a video worth watching until the end or take the drop off. But no, we're not going to do that. So somebody had a bright idea. Don't just tell them to watch it till the end and wait till you get to the end part. The end is the best part. So anything in that regards, you know that person needs that watch time to hit a number, to get to a number, because there are metrics to get paid. You need a certain amount of watch hours on YouTube so you can monetize your channel. Currently is 300 hours in a year, or 4 million views for your shorts and 1,000 followers. The metrics for YouTube have changed probably 4 times in the time that I've had my channel in order to monetize it. And I don't know if your channel is already monetized, does it matter, or is that the new, or you like grandfathered in, or is that the new? But I definitely know it's changed 3 times at a minimum in the amount of time that I've had my channel. Might have been 4. And whenever it changes, people start saying, oh, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to start a YouTube channel. But that was the whole point of that, was to just say, okay, watch it till the end, because of the absurdity of it all. Just say, I need you to watch this video because I need my check this month. And then be honest about why you want to have it till the end. Okay, last 2 questions for today. What did you learn today? And what did you learn about yourself? Oh, I'm making a thing shake. Stop. No, I learned about myself that I am the person talking over people. Kevin said today, I learned why people drop off in conversations when we are talking. The application of knowledge is power. And know that I learned you have to not talk over people to effectively communicate. When you talk over people, people don't feel heard, and it comes off as a lack of respect. That is correct. That is what I have been attempting to tell you for a very long time, and now you understand. That's what people like. They disrespected me. They don't understand saying that shit to me. And we have closed out REAL. We'll start on power. Kevin said, myself, I have to learn to monitor the balance in my conversations with people. I say yes to all of that. Now, here is the thing that I will say. Nola and I were having a conversation yesterday, and she was saying it was getting dark, and so she turned the light on. And I said, why are you turning the light on? And she said, I can't see your eyes. I said, you could put a whole damn desk together in the dark, but you can't, you need to see my eyes. She said, yes, you got to look people in the eye when you're talking to them. And I said, oh, that's cool. That's one of the 74 principles of real leadership. She said, it is? I thought I was saying communicate effectively. Work in progress, work in progress. I get it. It's 74 of them, and you have to inculcate them into your neural pathways to understand what they are. And I say that to say this as I close out in summary, in talking to people and not at people, without really knowing it at the time, creating the 74 principles of real leadership. How would I know in 2008 and 2009 that in 2025 I would be, yes, that Kevin, you are correct. Nola, Kevin is giving you a compliment. That these principles would actually be the foundation for adult life. Had no idea. Had no idea. But there isn't an occasion or an instance when I can't identify someone using one or more of the 74 principles of real leadership or someone violating and not using, being unaccountable and not using the 74, one or more of the 74 principles of real leadership. It's not happening at all in any way, shape, form, or fashion. So we didn't get to be taught how to be adults. We just turned 18, turned 22, got out of college. If we went there, and now we're supposed to know how to interact, engage with other adults. If we don't know how to do it in high school and we don't get any information after that, why would we know how to magically be able to do it if it were not taught? Interpersonal skills are not taught in high school, and communicate effectively is not taught, and listen and treat people with dignity and respect. None of those things are taught, but somehow as adults, we're just supposed to know how to do it. And even when we think we know how to do it, we're actually not doing it because of the other neural pathways that have to be built, the infrastructure for it. So Kevin, you know when you're building something, you need a foundation first, and then you can build up. Shaky foundation, and that thing is going to be leaning like the Tower of Pisa over there. It's going to be wobbling, if you don't put the right amount of screws. Something is just doing like this, you touch it and it falls over. That's what happens to most people's relationships and interactions, because that foundation, that mud seal of the 74 principles of real leadership isn't there. And always be learning, always be improving. When you continue to use these principles of real leadership, it takes you to a level in your life that you didn't know was possible. It's going to open up your mind to unlimited possibilities. Can makes the impossible possible. It's one of the 74 principles of real leadership. And you have a better existence. You actually have a better existence. And that's what this is about. Your daily. I thought about it the other day. Someone on Threads asked, what was your first exposure to technology? And I thought about it. And my first exposure to technology is when my mother was a government employee. She went from working in a computer room to sitting at a desk. She came to career day in the 7th grade, right before she went into the intern program and turned to a crackhead. And she printed out on the dot matrix printers everybody's name. So when it was finished, everybody got this printout, which in 1987 was a cool thing to have your name in the printout of the computer from the printer. It's like, oh my God, look at this. This is my name, and that whole little dot matrix thing. So anyway, I thought, well, that was a great thing to have, to be able to put. And I thought about those instances. And I said, it wasn't those instances when she showed up. It was the daily. It was the daily. It was the day in and day out of coming home every day, taking her bath. If you didn't catch her before she made her own separate dinner and started watching the news, you couldn't really have a conversation. So you had about 20 minutes, and that was it before she went from work to TV mode, and that was it. So I'm saying that to say, your daily. What do you want your daily to look like? Your daily. What do you want it to look like? And I see your post, Lola. I'm about to respond. That's what personal accountability is for. What do you want from your day? What do you want from May 8th, 2025? What do you want from it when you go to sleep? And you have the ability to get something from it every day when you apply the 74 principles of real leadership. Something for yourself, and what do you want the people around you to experience day in and day out? And when you hold them personally accountable to be their best, then that conversation exchange is different. Everything you do is different and better because of the 74 principles of real leadership. They actually have meaning and value for where you are today, not for a special occasion, not for some anniversary event, trip to Paris for your anniversary, but for today. And that's what matters, is the day. This is the day. You don't have another day. You might not make it to the end of today. But in this moment, today, right here, right now, make the best of it. And the 74 principles of real leadership is how you do that. Okay. And Lola said, I learned that I need to get better with communicating. Fix you first. You work on you. Fixing you first fixes a lot. It really does. I resemble that remark. I don't have to walk around with a tire iron in the back anymore, or checking people or letting motherfuckers know who I am and all of that. It's not necessary anymore because I am still working on things that are coming up now because it was a lot. It was it was a lot pressed down. And as it comes up, I am addressing it as soon as I am being made aware of it. Thank you for your time this morning, investing in yourself. This is for you and your personal development, your personal accountability, for you to become your best, and you're making that investment day in and day out. So pat yourself on the back, say good job, self. Yay, I'm being personally accountable. I will be back tomorrow, same time, same place, safe space, different brand t-shirt. You all go off and enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.